The morning was ordinary until it wasn't. A haunting shriek shattered the peace of our suburban street. It was my son, Tyler. I left everything behind and ran outside to find him on his knees on the lawn, cradling Marley, our golden retriever, his emotional support dog, limp and struggling to breathe. Tyler's eyes were streaked with tears, his voice trembling as he begged Marley to awaken. My fingers shook as I called 911. Karen Mitchell, our HOA president, stood on the other side of the street watching, arms folded across her chest, a satisfied smile teasing her lips. She grumbled loud enough for me to have heard, "Finally got rid of that mutt." We had only recently moved to Pine Ridge Estates 3 months prior. We were seeking stability for Tyler, who was 12 and on the autism spectrum. Routine was his life. Marley wasn't a pet. He was Tyler's anchor, his rock in a world that terrified him every day. Where Tyler went, Marley went. Their bond was the only thing that made our move bearable. But from when we arrived, Karen made it clear that we didn't fit in. She would show up on our doorstep with her ever-present clipboard in hand, spouting imaginary violations. Your mailbox is 2 inches too far from the curb. Your grass exceeds height limits. That dog shouldn't be outside alone. All baseless. Marley was the gentlest, best-trained dog I'd ever known. He rarely barked, never left our fenced yard, and stayed quietly at Tyler's side. Her campaign gained steam quickly. We began receiving formal HOA notifications. One claimed Marley was barking too much. We mocked bitterly. Marley was soundly quiet. When that did not succeed, she asked for documentation confirming Marley as a registered emotional support animal. I provided it in a timely manner. Next, a strange insertion materialized in the HOA bylaws. A pet weight limit, suspect timing, and clearly aimed at Marley. However, I think I remained civil. I think I attended every HOA meeting, showed Karen and everyone else documentation of Marley's behavior, invited my neighbors to testify against Karen on our behalf. Some felt sympathetic, but too afraid of Karen to speak up. She ruled Pine Ridge Estates like her own private fiefdom. Cross her and receive constant fines, harassment, and intimidation. Things turned ugly last week. Karen began to photograph Tyler and Marley on their morning walks, claiming she was documenting violations. To Tyler, however, it was terrifying. He began to break down just seeing her at her window. I complained to the local police. They called it a neighbor dispute and waved it off. And then, this morning, Tyler, being as punctual as ever, presented Marley his 7 a.m. meal right on the dot. Just part of his schedule. The feeding dishes were laid out on our back porch, inside the fence. As soon as he ate, Marley flopped. He started to convulse. He foamed at the mouth, his beautiful coat covered in sweat, before I even reached him. The emergency vet's words hit me like a gut punch. This is poisoning. Most likely not antifreeze, but commercial-grade rat poison. We're doing everything, but you have to be prepared for the worst. I couldn't even get words out to tell him. He sat frozen in the waiting room, slowly swaying gently back and forth, completely closed down. My husband held his position as I went out and made his call that I never wanted to have to make. You see, there's something Karen Mitchell doesn't know about me. And to the neighbors, I'm the quiet mom who drives a gray SUV and attends every PTA meeting. But professionally, I'm the newly appointed director of the FBI. Within a few hours, there was already a covert presence in the area. No suits and dark glasses, just utility workers, joggers, Amazon delivery men, armed with hidden cameras, overhead drones, and electronic tracking. All digital footprints, all activity on our street over the last week were being gathered and processed. The proof mounted quickly. One of our neighbor's front doorbell cameras recorded Karen entering our property at 4 a.m. with a small container in her hand. Toxicology on Marley's vomit revealed the toxin, commercial rat poison, and the purchase on Karen's credit card 2 days earlier. But the real clincher? Her text messages. One read, "Problem solved. That dog won't be bothering us anymore." Another to her sister bragged, "Sometimes you have to take care of things yourself when the system won't." That night she called for a special HOA meeting, posing as a review of pet policies. Neighbors told me that she basically gloated from the podium, venting about enforcement and maintaining standards. She even spoke the words aloud. Sometimes when authorities don't act, you have to do what's necessary. That's when the doors opened. 4 federal agents moved stealthily in. Karen's face went white as they approached and instructed her to come outside with them for questioning. Her clipboard dropped to the ground as grumblings spread throughout the room. The next day, Karen Mitchell was formally charged with animal cruelty, criminal trespassing, reckless endangerment of a disabled person, a federal offense. Her lawyer nearly passed out when he realized who I was. Local and national news stations had it in hours. HOA president poisons emotional support dog. Victim's mother is FBI director. Her neighbors turned against her. Additional digging revealed more horrors. Over $300,000 in illegal HOA fines, coerced forced sales of homes by elderly homeowners via intimidation, unsanctioned voyeurism, via secret cameras, HOA money transferred into her personal bank accounts. Her happy ever after life unraveled in an instant. Her real estate license was pulled. Her husband sought to separate from her and testified against her in court. The icing on the cake? Marley lived. After 3 days of reading and critical care, he made it through. When we brought him home, Tyler wrapped him in his arms, tears streaming down his face, whispering, "You're okay, you're okay." 2 weeks after he was back on his feet again, the HOA board voted unanimously to remove Karen as president. She stood in silence at the back of the room, no longer the queen of Pine Ridge. When the vote finished, she turned and left, alone. Dozens of neighborhood witnesses testified in court. Margaret Chen detailed how she was issued a $5,000 fine for putting in non-compliant rose bushes. Vietnam vet Robert Williams explained how she tried to ban his American flag. The Patel family explained how she reported them to CPS after a children's birthday party at their home ran over. But the most damning testimony was from Dr. Sarah Morrison, Tyler's psychiatrist. She showed the court footage of Tyler before Marley and after, highlighting how paramount the dog was in his emotional development. Her professional analysis was devastating. The judge was not coy. "Mrs. Mitchell, I have spent 3 decades on the bench, and I have seldom witnessed such calculated cruelty. You tried to take away a disabled child's lifeline. You abused power, intimidated neighbors, and had no remorse. I sentence you to 5 years in federal prison with no chance of parole. You must pay $150,000 in restitution to the victim family, $75,000 in fines for financial abuse, and 500 hours of community service at an animal shelter. And finally, the coup de grace. Due to the hate-biased nature of your transgressions, you will be registered as a hate crime offender and barred from serving as a member of any HOA board for life. Any repeat offense will result in mandatory 10-year incarceration." Karen had slumped over at the defense table, weeping, shouting she was on the church board. She donated to charities. It was only a dog. But the gavel had fallen. As the bailiffs shackled her and took her out of the courtroom, she begged for mercy. The judge's last words echoed louder than her tears. "Your reputation is now what it should be, that of a cruel, petty tyrant who attempted to shatter a child's world for the sake of control." Impartial justice was served. And as for Marley, he's still where he's supposed to be, snuggled up tight to Tyler, guarding the boy who loves him best.